Wellness Radio. I am your health expert, Dr. Nathan Warren. And so if this is your first time tuning into our show, welcome. We're super excited to have you here. And again, this show exists to bring you guys the latest and greatest information on health, how to actually achieve health. And again, what does that mean? You know, in a world full of Google searches and all kinds of censoring of information and everything, we're going to actually dive into the real stuff and talk about, what's the best ways to actually achieve health, and again, how to maintain that and keep that for a lifetime. And so if this is your first time listening to us, guys, Dr. Rebecca and myself, we are local doctors here in Chattanooga. We have a health center actually located across from the YMCA in Hamilton Place, right next to the Home Depot. And so there, we're actually able to work with not only kids and families and everybody like that, but we also, again, we do things like virtual health coaching across the United States. We're coaching people in Texas and in New York, Alabama. Let's see, got a couple clients in California. So we're all over the place, guys. So again, we want to just bring the latest and greatest information on your health to your door. So here's the bottom line. We were talking with some patients this week in the office, and it was actually pretty unbelievable when you look at some of the conversations that we actually have, with patients and the conversations that they've had with their medical doctors. And I mean, it comes down to this, unfortunately, in our medical system, they have no clue how to actually handle and talk to, patients about how to achieve health. The conversation is only about how do I cover up symptoms. The conversation is only about how can I, do the most to, again, get rid of my patients. Maybe it's their pain for a period of time. Maybe it's their, acid reflux for a period of time. Maybe it's their, whatever that symptom is. Maybe it's their headaches for a period of time. Whatever those symptoms are, that's what the primary conversation is about when you go into your doctor's office. Unfortunately, that is not the answer to actually achieving health, right? Those symptoms are showing up because of underlying health issues. They're showing up because there's been red flags for years, all right? And so again, once that symptom shows up, that means there's already been an underlying fire going on inside of the body, and unless you put that fire out, again, it's going to continue to burn. And so that's why, again, we want to get down to root cause. We say that all the time in our office, and we absolutely mean it. I'll give you a quick example. So Debbie started in our office about 3 years ago, right? She came in for numbness and tingling into her arms and hands, and having some issues with the lower part of her cervical curve, so having some issues with her neck. And again, that's why she came and saw us. She's like, hey, I want to do something about this. But what was interesting is as we started kind of digging in, we started, again, getting her well adjusted, moving that cervical curve. We were able to bring it from about a 10-degree curve all the way up to about a 34-degree curve, even within a few months, and seeing the numbness and tingling go away. It was still, because those were the only things she was focused about, she kind of threw some of her other health issues on the back burner, and we come to find out, hey, she's having some digestive issues. These digestive issues are leading to about a bowel movement once every 2 or 3 days, and I had to, have that conversation with, hey, that's not normal. Let's focus on actually getting down to the root cause of what's going on with your digestive system. And so we come to find out that, she's got a few abnormal bugs growing down there in the gut, so having some specific bacteria that actually trigger certain types of autoimmune, and then also too some parasites, and we were able to actually work through that. And again, like I said, she's been under care for about 3 years. Her digestive system is working well, 2 to 3 bowel movements a day. Again, no bloating, feeling great. And oh yeah, by the way, her numbness and tingling is still gone because we got down to the root cause. And so again, how often does it happen? We have all these women in our office that Dr. Rebecca coaches with thyroid issues, and they go into their doctor with, these thyroid problems, and their doctor's like, they make statements like, reverse T3. This is not a joke. We had a patient tell us this. Reverse T3, why would I run that? You'd only need to get your reverse T3 levels if you were in, the emergency room or something. That's just crazy. You need to stop looking on Google. Listen, when I hear comments like that, that's what makes me question your intelligence. That's absolutely insane. I mean, the fact of the matter is, again, that's a doctor that's not continuing to learn. That is a doctor that is relying on, what he learned in medical school, which was probably a joke, and then also learning, again, from the pharmaceutical rep that comes into his office and brings him lunch every single day. Like, that is mind-blowing, right? And this is not something that's uncommon. This is something that happens all the time. And so, again, in our office, we want to get to the root cause. We ask different questions. We say, hey, let's look and see what possibly might be causing your thyroid to be dysfunctioning. Let's look and see, why do you have autoimmune? Why do you have why do you have something like Hashimoto's? And then you come to find out you've got things like blastocystis homini, which is a parasite that's absolutely damaging and one of the leading causes of Hashimoto's. Or we come in and we say, oh, wait a second, you've actually got, C. diff or H. pylori or something like that going on inside of the gut. Oh, wait, you've got heavy metals that are out the yin-yang. You got things like, high levels of lead, high levels of mercury that we know actually damage areas of the body, including the thyroid. And so again, how much synthroid is going to get rid of blastocystis homini? How much synthroid is going to get rid of something like heavy metal toxicity? And so that is why, if you're not looking for the underlying root cause, again, you will stay sick. Even though those symptoms may go away for a period of time, you're staying on that medication and they only get worse over time. Like last week, I went over acid reflux medication, right? And I went over all the things that it damages year after year. And I guarantee you, there are still people listening to me right now on the radio, and you're still taking your freaking acid reflux medication and you haven't had that conversation with your doctor. You're like, well, he's my medical doctor. I've seen him for 30 years. I think he knows what he... No, he doesn't. If you're on an acid reflux medication, that means you have a breakdown in your digestive system. Get down to the cause of why you have a breakdown in your digestive system, and guess what? You start to cut your risk of things like dementia and kidney issues. You start to cut your risk of things like damage to your gut. You start to cut risk of things like cancer and other things that we went over last week, that if you have something like acid reflux and you're taking an acid reflux medication for long term, again, it leads to all of those things, including almost 100% rise in your risk of cardiac death. Right? The longer that you're on an acid reflux medication, all for what? A breakdown in your digestive system that your doctor either one, doesn't care to solve, or number two, is not smart enough to solve. And so again, that is why you have to take control of your own health. And if you're not taking control of your own health, that means somebody else is for you. And that's a scary thought. Right? That's a scary thought in a nation where we have 5 out of 6 Americans that will be diagnosed with cancer or heart disease. Again, that is a scary thought if you're letting somebody else drive the boat of your health. And so again, we teach not only my kids, I don't not only teach my patients, my family, everybody around me, take control of your health. You absolutely have to. And then every now and then I'll get, well, Dr. Nathan, I just don't care, I mean, I've been sick for a while. I just, what's the point? Listen, you may not care about your health, but I guarantee you there's somebody in your life that does. There's somebody in your life that does care. And the way I see that is absolutely selfish. Don't be selfish, right? Actually take care of your health. Maybe it's for your spouse, maybe it's for your daughter, maybe it's for your son, maybe it's for your grandkids, but don't be selfish with your health. Right? Again, there's so many more people that rely on you. Also, too, guys, you have to realize, man, God created you for a purpose. You are literally here for an absolute purpose, man. And it's amazing how it's our whole entire world. It's such an intricate system, man. Everything is connected. If you don't believe me, get a chance to watch The Biggest Little Farm, right? It was one of the best reminders that I've ever seen of how everything is so connected. I mean, every insect, is connected to again, helping to, grow different animals that help to grow the soil, that helps to grow your food, that helps to grow you, and everything is connected. And so that means you are here for a purpose, right? So if you don't care about your health, recognize that somebody else does. Or come in and see me and I'll care more about your health than you, sometimes to my own detriment, but that's okay, right? Again, we want you guys to take control of your health. So in this show today, we're going to be going over some really, really fun things. I'm super excited. Listen, we're going to be going over, are there toxic heavy metals in your baby's food? And let me tell you, this is going to be a scary study. It will blow your mind. Then we're going to also go over, what's behind those pesky headaches that you keep having over and over and over again, and some of the medication that you're used to taking on a regular basis for those headaches. What are they doing to your body, and what are some solutions to dealing with those headaches? And then we're also going to go over some immune strategies because, hey, listen, I keep getting it all the time at this time of the year. It's flu season. What am I going to do? Got to go get my flu shot, and those type of things. So we're going to go over some more about that. Also, too, I'm going to go over a study that I think will blow your mind, specifically dealing with kids and the flu. So that's what's all lined up here on the show today, but that doesn't mean you can't ask other questions as well. So, get on Doctors Warren on Facebook, DRSWARREN on Facebook, and you can ask your questions there, or you can call in live to the show, 267-1023, and you can ask some questions here. We want to make sure that we're answering them for you guys. Also, too, every radio show we set aside a few appointments. Usually it's 5. This week it's only 3 because we only have 3 slots. Again, we did our big talk about 2 weeks ago. It was amazing, so we're jam-packed right now. So only 3 slots left for this week. If you want those, you can give Sophie a call at the office, 423-362-5360. Again, instead of $120 to $150, it's only $60. That's going to include exam, any necessary x-rays we need to do, surface EMG to balance your nervous system and see what's going on there. And then also, too, just digging into your story, right? We want to know about you. And I'm telling you right now, it's a completely different doctor's experience than you've ever had. Because, again, we actually care. We want to see what's going on with you. So, again, 423-362-5360. Again, guys, this is Wellness Radio, and we're going to take a quick break. And when we get back, we're going to dive into the meat of the show. It's going to be a lot of fun, so stay tuned. All right, guys. Good morning. It's good to see you guys on here. And love Dr. Nathan, Dr. Full of God's knowledge and with. Man, thanks for saying that. I appreciate that, and we love you and your family too, man. We're so excited you're getting better and better. Danielle, good to see you on here. Ben, good morning. Good to see you and Miss Kathy on here. I'm super excited. Let's see. Ann said, God has plans for all of us for good, not for evil. Amen. I completely believe that, no doubt. Sierra, good to see you on as well. So we're going to, let me get them to turn this down a little bit. It's a little loud.
For decades. With Don Grant Roofing, you get quality, experience, and a dry home. If you've got a leaky old roof that
hold up, let me get it down in a second.
894-3781. That's 894-3781. You'll get $400 off. Just tell them that you heard about it on Sport Talk.
All right, we're getting that turned down for you guys because I can't even talk. There we go. Yeah, that's good. So we're going over things like headaches. We're going to go over things like, again, toxic heavy metals in kids' foods, the study that recently came out from the FDA. We're also going to be going over, again, immune strategies, right? So it's going to be a lot of fun here. But here's what I want to dive into first because I think it's that important. And really what that is, again, what is in our environment? What is in even the food that we're consuming? And so, a lot of times we work with, especially in our academy, we do a lot of work with kids. We do a lot of work with parents. And so, they're always striving so hard to find out, hey, what should I feed my kids? What's the healthiest things to give them, and all that. And so it just blows my mind when I see a study like this come out. And we'll make sure to post this on our page if you guys haven't seen this yet. But a recent study actually came out. I guess it was on Thursday, so this was very, very recent. And what they did, they tested 168 baby foods, right, for the presence of heavy metals. Here's what they found: 95% of baby foods, including both organic and non-organic baby foods, contain high amounts of heavy metals. Right? Heavy stinking metals in our babies' foods, in our kids' foods. Guys, let me tell you this. I work with a lot of patients with heavy metal toxicity. It is a serious, serious thing. Heavy metals, not only can they damage the body neurologically, but you look at things like lead, it stunts IQ, lead stunts growth. You look at mercury, mercury absolutely has an affinity for the brain and the nervous system and the gut. You look at aluminum, aluminum is linked to not only Alzheimer's, dementia, autism, you name it. Again, when you look at kids with autism, actually autopsy studies show they had the highest levels of aluminum than, the people that literally did the autopsy autopsies than they had ever seen, including studying Alzheimer's patients for over 20 years. That is a study that was actually put out when they examined, again, the brains of 10 different autistic children. So we have to realize this is something that's truly, truly damaging. 95% of baby foods, right, containing heavy metals. Absolutely unbelievable. They included lead, mercury, arsenic, and cadmium. So that's what we're going to dive into first on the show, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun, so stay tuned. All right, guys, welcome back. This is Wellness Radio. I am your health expert, Dr. Nathan Warren, and so I'm super excited to be here today. We got a lot of good stuff to dive into, so I don't really want to waste any more time. If you haven't heard our show before, go on doctorswarren.com. Check us out, DRSWARREN.com. You can go back and listen to any radio show that we've done in the past. We have them archived there. We also have some blog posts on there. We have some video links there. You can also follow us on YouTube as well. We have a YouTube channel now. Woohoo, right? It's like, man, we should have probably done that a couple years ago, but hey, we're just now getting into it with a lot of great information on there, including like ear infections. We have a video on YouTube on ear infections. We have a video on YouTube about thyroid labs. We have another one on heavy metals. So there's some really great videos on there as well. Or you can like us and follow us on Facebook at Doctors Warren, DRSWARREN on Facebook. So let's dive into this. I was talking to all my peeps on Facebook Live about what we're going to dive into first: heavy metals in our babies and kids' foods. All right, so this is actually a study that just came out on Thursday. They looked at 168 of our top baby foods that are out there. This is including organic and non-organic baby foods. And what they found is that 95% of all of our baby foods were contaminated by at least one of the heavy metals in all of the baby foods tested. So those heavy metals included arsenic, that's damaging to the nervous system, as well as damaging to things like your eyesight and other areas of senses in the upper head and neck area. They looked at things like lead, right? Lead damages the IQ, brings down brain function, as well as even it's shown to shrink the hippocampus of the brain. Again, so you want to talk about damaging IQ. I mean, just look at what happened in Flint, Michigan. Absolutely a tragedy that we don't even talk about anymore. And I guarantee you it's happening in other places as well. And also mercury. Mercury is one of those that, again, I've been shouting from the rooftops for years. It's not an opinion. It's an absolute fact. Really the only people that argue about mercury toxicity are still some of the old school dentists that just refuse to actually look into the literature. They just rely on what the American Dental Association has told them, which is just as corrupt as the American Medical Association. Even the whole European Union banned mercury fillings because of the amount of damage. And again, if you would like to see it, I have a 14-page document that was actually used to ban it in the EU that has 438 peer-reviewed citations on the damage that mercury and mercury fillings do inside of the brain. But we're finding mercury in our babies' foods. That's great. Also, too, cadmium. Cadmium is a big one. All right, one of the most common places you find cadmium, they actually put cadmium in cigarettes, right, to make them burn slower. So again, that's really, really dangerous. So that means if you are a smoker, you are getting cadmium, heavy metal, that is damaging your nerves. You ever wonder why you're having things like, a smoker says, man, I've got numbness and tingling, or I'm getting neuropathy, and I don't know what to do. I'm doing all these things. If they come into my office and you smoke, I have to educate you on that. Listen, I can adjust your neck all day long, but if you continue to smoke, that cadmium is getting into your nervous system. That's one of the primary reasons you're actually having neuropathy. And unless you stop that, or unless we figure out a different solution for you, again, you're going to continue to have that because it's deteriorating your nervous system. And so we know the damages that are done there. So as they looked into it, they said the highest risk foods are going to be things like fruit juices, rice-based products, puff snacks, rice cereals, and rice particularly effective in absorbing arsenic in common pesticides in that. And so as they looked at 61 brands, 13 different types of foods, and here's what they said. Lead was the worst offender. Yes, blows my stinking mind. Lead was the worst offender, appearing and 94% of baby foods tested. Lead, right? That damages your IQ. Your kids, in the most critical time of life, then they need to be building up their brain and building up their body overall. And they have 94% of baby foods tested have this in it. So, number one thing that you can do as a parent, stop feeding your kids baby food. Feed them real food, right? Like, I don't know where we got off on this point where we said, oh man, I think babies, because they're little babies, we gotta feed them these little processed, full of crap baby food. That's the only way that they're gonna grow. And guess what? It's probably at the expense. I'm sure Pediatric Association doctors have said, oh, your baby's not growing right. Let's check the chart. Oh, your baby's in the 32nd percentile. We got to fatten up your baby. So let's feed them full of processed sugar, bad fats. And again, that will grow your baby. There's no doubt about it that will grow your baby. But you'll grow your baby with risk of things like autoimmune disease and risk of things like, chronic allergies and sinus problems. And again, lowering their IQ, 94% of all baby food having lead in it. And so again, I get asked all the time, what can we do, right, again, to make sure that our babies are growing well? Well, here you go. Number one, avoid baby food. You don't need it. Guys, you do not need baby food, right? It just doesn't have to happen. Use real food, right? So if you want to, if you're not doing something like baby-led weaning, which that's something that we did, and I can go over that in a minute, but let's say you want to do more of like, mashes, and you want to do more of like purees and stuff, do it yourself, guys. Steam a sweet potato, or put it into, put veggies into like a crock pot or into things like, again, an Instapot. And again, you can blend that up or mash that up, and there you go. You got real food, and they will eat it. The other thing that I have to say, I've been reading a book. It's called Nourishment. And it's actually got, probably out of any book I've ever read, it's probably got more peer-reviewed citations than I've ever seen. It's mind-blowing. It's got 35 pages in the back of the book of just peer-reviewed citations as you go through it. And really the whole point is showing that based on our nutrition, that again, humans, like animals, again, we can actually taste what we need. So that means, again, your kids have the innate ability to say, hey, I'm lacking this mineral, I'm lacking this fat, this nutrient, and they can literally decide what they want to eat. It's why my kids eat a ton of avocados, in areas like, going into like more of the winter months, because of the fat content that's in it. They eat a ton of like bone broth, again, in soup, because they absolutely crave it. And they eat a lot of meat because, again, that's what our ancestors would have eaten as well, because that's what was available. And then you look at things like in the spring and summer, my kids are almost all plant-based. They eat tons and tons of fruit, tons and tons of, again, vegetables, because, again, they crave those things. And so we have to start feeding our kids real food so they can really help to pick out what nutrients are needed. I actually read it was a post by like a nutritionist that has thousands of followers on Facebook, and she literally talked about how I couldn't even believe it. She talked about how, oh man, we have to make sure that we're giving our kids set exact times for these meals, because if we don't do that, our kids they don't have the innate ability to remember to eat, and they could end up starving. And I'm like, dude, you're insane. Like, if you really think that, maybe you don't have kids of your own, but my kids, I'll tell you right now, are smart enough to know if they don't have food, they're gonna know, oh, you know what, it's time for me to eat, and they're gonna actually go and do that. It is literally a built-in human instinct that will tell you to go find food whenever you need it, right? So, again, mind-blowing the information that's actually out there. So what can we do for our kids? Here's a great, kids diet. Are you ready for this? So here we go. Good healthy meat, right, from pasture-raised animals and organic sources, things like wild-caught fish and seafood. Good healthy fat coming from things like grass-fed butter, avocados, avocado oil, things like coconut products, things like, hemp seeds, hemp Things like even utilizing things like hemp seed oil, fantastic good fat, olive oil, raw organic olive oil, utilizing those type of things, pumpkin seeds, sunflower seeds, macadamia nuts, Brazil nuts, pistachios, again, nuts and seeds. Also things like, again, lots of vegetables, right? Again, try many different ones. Continue to introduce them to them. Guess what? Most of your kids are going to try certain types of vegetables and then you're like, ugh, I don't like it. That's okay, right? Come back to it a week later or 2 weeks later and reintroduce it again, right? Reintroduce those over and over again periodically. And if they don't want it, don't force it on them, right? You don't need to force it on them, because if you do that, they will create a bad relationship with that food. Rather, let them try it and then reintroduce it later if they don't like it, all right? And again, eventually they're gonna like it. And if you utilize a whole food-based diet with your kids, their taste buds are going to develop, again, fantastic. Like, you're actually going to develop taste buds for things like bitter foods, which are almost non-existent in our diet today, but are so vitally important for the way that your liver and your gallbladder and your digestive system work, right? So again, we want to introduce those type of foods to our kids. Things like fruit. Let your kids eat real fruit. You don't need packaged fruit, okay? Mango from a real mango tastes way better than a packaged mango, all right? Pineapple from a real pineapple tastes much better than a packaged, canned pineapple. Again, buy these things. If you can't afford to buy them fresh, buy them frozen, right? Places like Costco, you can literally get organic wild blueberries, this bag that'll last you 10 years, for like $9, so it's out there. Again, let them eat lots of fruit, things like bananas and apples and all of these great fruits. So a whole food-based diet. And here's where I cut. And again, sometimes people say, oh man, they need these to get their nutrients, their B vitamins. I'm like, nope, you actually do not. That's completely false. Again, grains, right? We make it out like we need grains. Guys, number one, you get fiber from fruit and vegetables, nuts and seeds, period, right? You don't need grains to get your fiber. You can get plenty of fiber in plant-based foods that way. And again, you don't need grains to get things like your B vitamins. You get that from pasture-raised organic meats, right? That's where you get it from. The other thing that I think is very vitally important that's lacking in a lot of our kids' diets, as well as things like our pregnant women, are things like choline. Choline is in things like egg yolks, and it's in things like organic pasture-raised meat. Again, choline is literally what builds up the brain, period. It is one of the most important things that builds up the brain, and it's actually had one of the greatest deficiencies that we find. Actually, one study done on pregnant women showed about 95% of all pregnant women are deficient in choline, and choline helps to build up the brain and the nervous system. So, again, we want to make sure that we're getting that in it. So when we're talking about, again, how to feed our kids, how to feed our babies, we want to make sure it's a whole food-based diet. Again, good healthy meat, vegetables, good healthy fat, nuts and seeds, and fruit, right? And that's where we stay. And guess what? You can use things like raw local honey. You can use things like, again, organic maple syrup. You can use things like stevia and monk fruit, again, and so they can have, there's so many different companies that do all these, awesome little, snacks and treats and things like that are made from healthy ingredients, whole food ingredients. If you read the ingredient label and it's more than 10 ingredients and you can't name some of the ones that are in there, don't put it into your body or into your kids' bodies, and literally only put food in your house that your kids can consume. This is good for you, right? So again, we had to learn that even the hard way with little things. We're like, okay, we can keep this in here, we'll eat it. But guess what? Our kids always find things like that. So we only keep food in the house that they can consume that we know are going to be healthy for them. All right, and that's how you reduce your load of, again, 95%. Cut out rice. Right? You do not need rice, and they don't need rice either. Again, that was the biggest contributor to all of these. So they showed rice, specifically brown rice and wild rice, actually contain the highest amount of arsenic and cadmium in it. All right? And so again, if you're going to consume some rice, they say to use something like an organic basmati rice that's or a white rice, like an organic white rice, because again, they've removed the outer shell of that rice, like the brown part, and that contains the highest amount of toxicity. So Yeah, so again, here's the bottom line, guys. We have to get these things out of our kids' bodies and out of their brains. All right, guys? So I got to take a quick break. Again, if you want an appointment to come in and see us, maybe you have kids and you want to bring them in to see us. Again, we love to take care of kids. We love to take care of families. You can give Sophie a call, 423-362-5360. Again, that's 423-362-5360. Maybe your whole family that wants to come in. We'll do them all at once and be able to sit down and go over your health history. 423-362-5360. And when we get back, we'll dive more into it. See you right after the break. All right, let's go through here. Let's see. Hey, Ruthie, good to see you. Victoria, good to see you on. Are there heavy metals from the dirt that veggies are grown in? If organic food was included, how do you defer? Let's see, what did it say? How do you defer from heavy metal dirt or not? Listen, yeah, I mean, bottom line, our soil has been depleted quite a bit, right? And our soil is going to have some, heavy metals in it. It's almost unavoidable at this point. But the amount that was in the study was absolutely mind-blowing. This is not just a minor amount, a minute amount. So, yeah, first thing, if you're not eating organic, that's got to be your first step. You just got to do it. You got to switch over to organic. People say, well, I can't afford to eat organic. The reason most people can't afford to eat organic is because they're spending the majority of your money in the middle aisles of the grocery store where all the packaged foods are. If you were eating whole food base, right, things like good healthy meat, vegetables, fruit, nuts, and seeds, and you stuck more towards the outskirts of the store and you're not getting caught with all of the expensive processed stuff in the middle, again, you would be able to afford more organic foods. And at this point with our health, we almost can't afford not to eat organic food. So here's another way that you can actually save some money. Find a local CSA, right, in your area. Like for us, we found places like Crabtree Farms. We found places like, Fall Creek Farms. There's places like Signal Mountain Farms all near us that we can do. Again, and look for those things. Organic is where, or find a Costco near you, guys. You can get a lot of organic, frozen vegetables or frozen, fruit at Costco for pretty cheap price that are organic. Like we buy all of our organic berries from Costco. Why? Because they're frozen, which that means they're frozen at the peak of their ripeness. And so again, all these berries that are flown in from 10, 12 hours away, they go bad in your fridge within 2 days. So we use something like, again, frozen organic wild blueberries, frozen organic, cherries, frozen organic, and those things are like candy when you eat them, and they have no, added sugar to them. So utilize those type of things. But yes, to answer your question, Victoria, both in organic and non-organic soil, you're going to have some contaminants, right? But the amount of contaminants in non-organic soil far outweighs that of organic soil, all right? And so again, have that conversation with local farmers or find trusted sources that you can actually get it from. And again, when it comes to things like the meat that we consume, if you don't have a good area to actually get, good quality meat, here's some great websites that you guys can go to and order it straight to your door. White Oak Pastures is amazing. One of the best, places and farms, regenerative agriculture that I've seen on this planet. Absolutely amazing. And you can order things straight to your door from there, and all of their animals are like literally above and beyond taken care of. It's absolutely amazing. So White Oak Pastures. There's places like Butcher Box that does it, that does a really, really great job. Even Thrive Market has started carrying, again, sustainable, pastured, and wild-caught, meat and seafood. So again, those are good options for you guys to actually get, so that way you're reducing your toxic load with your kids. Let's see. Who else? Where did the heavy metal come from in the baby food? So again, it's coming from the different fruits and vegetables that were actually used in it, as well as the rice. The biggest area of contamination was the rice that they saw was contaminated with both pesticides as well as things like arsenic, cadmium, lead, and mercury. So again, getting away from rice is huge. Now, every now and then, right, if we want to have some rice, we do like an organic white rice or like an organic white like basmati rice, something like that. It's going to contain less contaminants. Again, we stay far away from brown rice. We stay far away from, things like even certain sources of wild rice because of the amount of contamination with not only pesticides, but also, lead and arsenic and cadmium as well. All right, so make sure that you choose that. All right, guys, welcome back to Wellness Radio with Dr. Nathan Warren. I am your health expert, and we're going through all kinds of different information today. If this is your first time tuning in, we are local here in Chattanooga, Tennessee. That is where our health clinic is. We work with families of all ages, including a ton of little kids, all the way up to 99, 100 years old. And again, we help to get down to root cause, right? Root cause health. If you are just covering up your symptom, maybe you got something like eczema and you're just putting, some type of skin cream on there. Guys, that is not getting root cause. We actually did in our wellness academy that we do, our Doctors Warren Wellness Academy, that was the topic we went over this month, was skin. We actually went and dove into, not only from an adult perspective, but from a kid's perspective, what are the primary reasons and causes to skin issues, including eczema, psoriasis, those type of things. And yes, you can get rid of them despite what your dermatologist says. I have it happen all the time. Actually, if you go on our Facebook, you can see a few different stories of some of the kids I've worked with and their parents, and see some of the dramatic differences and changes in their skin health and what happened with them. So bottom line is you have to get down to root cause. If you're not actually solving the issue. So if you're local here to Chattanooga and you want to come in and see us in the clinic, again, we set aside 3 appointments. So make sure that, again, get those before they're gone. That number is 423-362-5360. Again, that's 423-362-5360. Or maybe you live somewhere else and you would like, some health coaching. Guys, again, it's not a doctor-patient relationship. It is literally a coaching relationship. And again, it's not a dictatorship, it's a partnership. So we're literally going through how to actually, again, get down to root cause with you, coach you on your health so that you learn the process of taking care of yourself or your family. Again, same number, 423-362-5360. All right, 5360. All right, so we've went over, again, baby foods. Cut those out. Go more towards, again, whole food base. I don't care what your pediatrician says. Bottom line, I'm going to make this clear, and I might be a little mean about it. I don't care. Your pediatrician does not know nutrition, period. They don't. I don't care, again, unless they're like, a 1 out of a million, right, that actually do. And again, I would be shocked and surprised. Your pediatrician does not know nutrition. They're going based off of government guidelines. They're going based off of, things they learned 20 years ago in school, which are, they were false 40 years ago, but they're still going based off of that. So again, let's think logically, and let's say, how can I get the most whole food into my kid's diet, right? Again, good quality organic and pasture-raised or wild-caught meat and seafood, good healthy fats, tons of things, again, tons of good healthy, oils, getting rid of the rancid seed oils, like no cottonseed oil, no soybean oil, no stinking canola oil. Get those things out of your kid's diet, out of your diet. Utilize things like whole vegetables, fruit, right? Nuts and seeds. And again, guys, there's so much to choose from. Check out brands like Lakanto and brands like Simple Mills. Check out, other brands like Siete. Guys, you can have all of the foods that you loved, but in good whole form. Even places like Jackson's Honest, makes, or organic chips out of things like, utilizing a healthy oil like coconut oil or avocado oil. So all of these things are out there. And again, you can still have a lot of fun while you eat. Like Simple Mills, like we made some of those pancakes this morning with our kids. They were absolutely phenomenal, and they're made out of things like they were made out of things like almond flour, coconut flour, those type of things, cassava flour. And so again, you can really get some great products out there nowadays. All right. So the other thing that I wanted to go over is actually looking at, the flu. So I wanted to mention this at least for just a second. So a study in 2009 actually showed that kids that received the flu vaccination were 3 times more likely to be hospitalized because of a flu-like sickness. Okay, so wait a second. So kids that were given the flu shot were 3 times more likely to be hospitalized for flu-like symptoms than kids that were not. Okay, so if I'm a numbers guy and I'm playing that, I'm saying, wait a second, maybe that's not the best option, right? I went over last week the statistics of the flu vaccine, and again, they're absolutely abysmal, especially when you're looking at not only kids, but elderly adults. I believe it was around 12% when you look at the studies. 12% effective. Making sure that your kids and you and elderly adults are well maintained with their nutrition. Having a diet rich in vitamins A, D, E, and K alone will make a massive difference. Getting quality sleep will make a massive difference. Utilizing things like again, good quality exercise, getting your kids outside, letting them run around, breathing in fresh air. Those things all have greater efficacy than the stinking flu vaccine. All right, and so enough said. 3 times the rate of hospitalizations, again, and that's from a medical journal. So there you go. We'll have to post that one on there as well too. So again, build up your immune system appropriately. Make sure your vitamin D levels are high. If you and your kids are not supplementing with a vitamin D3 as well as like K complex or like a whole fat soluble vitamin complex like vitamin A, D, E, and K, again, you need to make sure that you're doing that to get those adequate amount of nutrients into the body. Those are absolutely fantastic. We know that things like adequate amount of vitamin A is actually antiviral, which is fantastic. We know that vitamin D plays a critical role in your immune system. And the way that works, we know that vitamin K2 plays a massive role in putting calcium into your kids' bones and into your, the elderly into your bones. If you're not doing that appropriately, again, we're not building up teeth, we're not building up bones, and it leads to greater problems later on, including decreasing your immune system and making you more vulnerable to the flu. Now, worst case scenario, let's say you get the flu. What if you get the flu? All right, here's what you do. You ready for this? Stay home, you rest, stay in bed, right? It's not going to be super comfortable for a day or two. Make sure that you are staying hydrated, right? Lots of hydration, not Gatorade, but hydration, right? Things like utilizing things like Ultima is a great way if you need some flavor for your kids or for yourself. Ultima is an electrolyte drink that's actually sweetened with stevia. They have like grape, they have like cherry, they have lemon lime, they have all kinds of different flavors. Orange that you can get Ultima, right? You can order that or you can find it at your local health food store. And you can even, if your kids aren't drinking anything, make them into popsicles. Mix up the Ultima, mix up some vitamin C in there, put some different, vitamin D3, put some other, you can even put like some elderberry, some raw honey, and again, make them into popsicles. Let them eat on that all day. Drink some broth, right? Make some bone broth, things like kettle and fire bone broth. Again, take, different herbs like astragalus is amazing antiviral. L-lysine is an amazing antiviral. Vitamin D, vitamin C, again, doing things like zinc. These are all amazing immune boosters that you can do to really build yourself up during that time. And you can do these all ahead of time as well to be preventative, which is even more important. All right. So I got to take another little quick break. And when we get back, we're going to dive into headaches, our last subject of the day, which is going to be fantastic because, again, the majority of you guys are dealing with headaches on a regular basis. And we got to go over what are some of the solutions to that. All right, guys, this is Wellness Radio. If you want to come in and see us in the office, 423-362-5360, 423-362-5360, and we'll see you in the office. This is Wellness Radio. I'll see you right after the break. All right, so let's see here. So again, guys, going into, listen, the flu. My gosh, like I don't know how many, for the most part, most people, different than other shots and vaccines are more likely to skip the flu vaccine, which I think is fantastic. When you look at, everybody says, I had a nurse tell me the other day, but yeah, CDC records say 111,000 people die per year from the flu. And so I actually went on the CDC website and I broke it down for her. We actually went through it and she's like, oh my gosh, I didn't know. Yeah, things like pneumonia and sepsis are thrown into these flu deaths. And so when you actually break it down, it's like less than 2,000. And in most of those, they're immunocompromised people, people with things like, maybe it's cancer or people with things like that. And then they say, well, get the flu vaccine, for those people so that you're protecting the herd. Herd immunity does not work in an artificial stimulation. Herd immunity is a naturally built thing. You cannot artificially stimulate herd immunity, despite all the buzz crap that you've heard out there. You cannot do that now. You cannot do that artificially. Herd immunity only has been proven to work naturally based on you contracting something like a virus, and like let's say a mom contracting that and then giving passive immunity via breast milk down to her babies. And again, it actually builds up the immunity, protects the herd. And because these little kids at a certain age are getting these different viruses, they then grow up to be adults who don't ever get it again. So it builds up their immune system. They're not worried about getting it in another immune compromised level of life. That is herd immunity, all right? Artificial stimulation is not herd immunity. I don't care what your nurse practitioner says that lives next door to you. I don't care what your pediatrician says. Again, tell them to show you the scientific literature, because I guarantee you they're not. So that's my rant on that. Again, build up your immune system appropriately. I went over some different things to do. A couple others that I love. Olive leaf extract is absolutely amazing. I'm a huge fan of olive leaf extract. There's a supplement called Oliverex that I love a lot. A great boost to your antiviral systems. Things like colloidal silver using Argentine 23. Colloidal silver is a fantastic way. That really kind of pumps the brakes on infection and the spread of infection. Gives your immune system time to really kick it up a notch. Things like green tea extract, EGCG is fantastic. Immune booster and natural killer cell producer. Things like, again, astragalus is a natural killer cell producer. Things like beta 1 and 3 glucan is a natural killer cell producer. So these are all fantastic things that you guys can use. And then vitamin C throughout the day, utilizing some really good high quality vitamin C is another great way. If you also get the flu, another good one that you can also do as well is you can use Genexa, right, is a great company. They have something called Flu Crush and Cold Crush. They have some for kids, some for adults. Actually the world's first organic pharmaceutical company that does not use chemicals. They actually use homeopathic remedies, and they also use herbs, organic sources that are proven and tested, which are fantastic. Let's see, Phil said, what are your thoughts on zeolite and bentonite clay aid in getting rid of heavy metals in the body? Absolutely. I think that's a great thing that you can do. You can use we like to use things like GI Detox Plus by Biobotanical Research. We use things like Universal Binder of Toxins by Quicksilver Scientific, or Bind from Systemic Formulas, but you can use that in there. Now, most zeolite, and again, we've actually sent these off to labs to be tested, most zeolite is dirty on the market because they're actually hanging on to heavy metals, the job that they're supposed to do, again, in nature itself. And so we really only trust one brand, and that's Cyto Detox. So Cyto Detox is a great brand of zeolite that you can use to detoxify heavy metals. Also, when you're doing that, you have to really vamp up your glutathione and your methylation, because if you're not methylating appropriately, you're not going to be detoxifying appropriately. But yes, you can use those type of things, again, especially in the gut, to really bind up toxins. That's a really great way, Phil. All right, guys, welcome back to Wellness Radio, our last segment of today, of this Saturday show. And so I want to dive into headaches, because headaches are going to be a major issue that people are dealing with. And so really what sparked me to do this is because, again, I get all the time in the office and it drives me nuts. Well, yeah, it's just a little headache. When I do, I take, a little bit of Tylenol or a little bit of ibuprofen. And again, every now and then, yeah, not a big deal, okay? You do it once every month, once every couple months, not a big deal. Even though I'd say once a month, that's 12 times a year, 12 times, 10 years in a row. That's a lot, right? But bottom line is this, guys, even those medications, right? Even medications that you can go and pick up at Walgreens, when you look into the scientific literature, we know they have a great effect on our health overall, right? You look at ibuprofen, they estimate around 20,000 people a year die from ibuprofen use. Why? Because it's actually damaging areas of the gut, damaging areas of the digestive system, and kidneys and liver. So we have to make sure that we're using these appropriately. And what I would like to do is get away from using them at all, right? Things like, utilizing acetaminophen and Tylenol. Here's something most people don't know. Did you know that when you use something like Tylenol or acetaminophen, that you actually decrease the amount of glutathione that your body produces? And let me tell you about glutathione. Glutathione is literally the most powerful antioxidant known to mankind, and it's produced within inside of you. And so it is used to get rid of toxins in the body. It's used to, again, protect your DNA. It's used to literally build up health in the body. If you do not have appropriate levels of glutathione, you will get sick all the time, or you won't get sick all the time, and then you end up with things like cancer, heart disease, diabetes. So glutathione is one of the most important things that we can have in our body and being produced at high levels, and Tylenol actually stops that. So some of the primary causes of headaches that we find are going to be things like histamine reaction, sinus issues, right? Things like misalignment and subluxation in the neck, the cervical spine. Damage to the ligament of the C1 bone in the neck. Things like heavy metal toxicity, mold exposure, things like food allergies to dairy, to things like gluten, corn, soy, those type of things. So again, we have to start addressing these appropriately to really make a difference in your headaches, not just taking medication. So if you're somebody that's suffering with headaches, or a family member is suffering with headaches, come in and see us, guys. We get rid of a lot of headaches in our office, not because we treat headaches, but because we get down to root cause. And so again, that number is 423-362-5360. You can come in and see us, sit down with us. Instead of $120 to $150, it's only $60, and that's going to include all necessary imaging and x-rays. But again, headaches are not normal. They may be common, right? But they are not normal. Headaches are always abnormal. It means something is going on inside of the body. Get down to the root cause. Again, 423-362-5360. Grab up that last appointment. And again, come in and see us face to face, sit down with us, and let's actually, for the first time in most of your lives, let's actually start getting down to the root cause. We'd love to actually see you in there. Now, if you're dealing with things like headaches because of, sinus issues, let me give you guys on Facebook Live some things that you can do right now. Natural antihistamines like quercetin, like lutein, things like vitamin C, butterbur, feverfew. Those are all really great natural antihistamines that you can use to really work on that. Again, Garden of Life makes a great one called Immune Balance Sinus that you can use. Hista-Ease is a great one that you can actually use by Designs for Health. Those are great ones if your headaches are coming from things like histamine reaction or sinus problems. Use things like a colloidal nasal spray, or you can use things like Restore nasal spray are fantastic as well. So again, guys, we'll see you next week. This has been Wellness Radio. I've had a blast. Again, I hope you guys all have a great weekend and enjoy life. All right, guys, so those are some examples of some things you can do for headaches. Now let's go through this. Victoria said, I've been giving my kids D3, good. Elderberry, that's great. Omega-3, zinc, multi-probiotics. Almost half my son's class had the flu. I'm trying to see, I can't really see more. I don't know why it's not letting me. See more. Oh, there we go. Almost half my son's class had the flu last week. Not my son. Yes, because you're getting down to the root cause. You're building up his immune system. Man, awesome. Way to go, Mom. That is fantastic. Those are all absolutely amazing. Can you give elderberry year-round or only during flu season? No, elderberry can be given year-round. It's a great immune booster that's fantastic. Again, make it yourself, too, and you save a lot of money by doing that. There's different places. I actually just found out, like, on the Hiawassee River here, there's actually places you can wild forage elderberries, which is kind of cool. There's probably other places in the United States that you can do that. I know they grow wild in Nordic countries. So again, make your own elderberry. Use raw local honey, right? Or raw Manuka honey would be great when you're actually making your elderberry syrup. If you need to buy it, Honey Gardens is a really great brand that uses raw honey, and I think they even have things like zinc, vitamin C, and echinacea in their elderberry syrup. So I really do like Honey Gardens is a great brand if you gotta get it. You can also get it in capsule form if you're not into the taste from places like Gaia Herbs, Gaia Herbs. Even at your local health food store, they have some elderberry that you can get as well. And elderberry is actually shown to take days off of the flu, which is pretty cool. So that's a great one. Again, I'm a huge fan of astragalus, olive leaf extract. Again, those are really used more if you get something like the flu. Vitamin C can be taken, again, for wellness and maintenance as well. So hopefully that gives you guys some ideas to build up a titanium immune system. But Victoria, thank you for that example. Again, and if you guys have kids, look at her list that she listed out. Those are all fantastic. And again, we've done posts and videos earlier on our Facebook that you can go through and look at that I actually went through kids supplements and some of the ones that we love to use. There's one called Tough Play by Systemic Formulas that we use. It's a dropper, and it's got vitamin C, echinacea, it's got some zinc in it, it's also got astragalus, it's got some of those amazing immune boosters that I went over earlier, and we do that with our kids every day. They love it. They think it's a lot of fun. We use their Bones Plate. It's got a dinosaur on it, all their minerals, vitamin D, vitamin K, E, A, all of those things as well too. So, but again, you guys are all doing amazing. Thank you for tuning in. And if you guys ever have any questions, man, shoot us a message on Facebook. Join our Wellness Academy if you haven't yet. That's a great way that you can actually learn. Again, we go through each topic each month. Check out our website, drzwarren.com. But again, I love and appreciate every single one of you guys. Our goal is the same as yours, and it's just to live a fulfilling life full of health, and that's what I want for every single one of you. So again, reach out to us. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you guys soon.